Welcome, Mr. Cellophane, to Geek Salad's Retro Movie Review from the Geek Salad Podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And February kicks off our look back at Best Picture winners throughout the decades. It is Oscar season. It is in full swing right now. We have come to fisticuffs as to whether or not Greta Gerwig should or should not have gotten a nomination for Best Director. Spoiler alert, she absolutely deserved it. But hey, maybe that adapted screenplay will come in handy. Let's hope. But we are not here to talk. Adapted because it's based on a toy line. It's the most original movie of the year based on a toy line. So, but anyway, we are not here to go back to Barbie Land. We are going to head over to the Windy City, Chicago, to discuss the 2002 winner of Best Picture, Chicago.
Yeah.
The first movie musical to win Best Picture since Oliver in 1968.
Wow, really?
Yes. Also beating Grease in non-adjusted numbers for the highest grossing domestic movie musical at the time.
Live action or animated?
Live action.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't, technically speaking, the Disney movies do not count as musicals. They're their own thing.
With music in it, it's a musical for me.
Yeah, I know. But anyway. So we are going to be talking about Chicago, a movie I actually saw in the theater. Was this your first time seeing it?
It was.
Okay.
First time seeing it as either movie or stage. I actually haven't seen it on stage either.
Right. I'm familiar with the stage version. I've never seen it live on stage, but I'm familiar enough with the staging to know how innovative the movie adaptation is.
Yeah, I've heard the soundtrack a few times because John likes to play it when I'm out there in your car. But yeah. So I knew a lot of the songs, but I'd never actually seen the movie itself.
Yeah, and there were certain pieces of the movie soundtrack I actually like better than the the revival that came out in the 90s, which the movie is heavily cribbed from.
Yeah.
There's some versions of certain songs I like better on the Broadway version than I don't like on this. I actually prefer Renee Zellweger's Roxy over Anne Ryan King's version from the revival. I can't call it the original. The original came out in the 70s.
Yeah. Well, I can't really judge one way or another about.
Okay.
I can only go with the movie as I've seen it.
Right. But the 90s revival of Chicago was huge. I mean, it came out kind of like in tandem with Cabaret, which was another 60s, 70s musical that got like massively sexed up in the 90s. Much like Chicago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, just going with what was it? The Cell Block Tango.
Yeah.
Massively sexed up right there.
Yeah. The choreography in this, which, by the way, I thought Rob Marshall, the director of the movie, did a phenomenal job with this choreography.
I agree.
Taking the aspects of Bob Fosse's legendary choreography and then doing other things with it. Overall, this movie is really hard. I mean, this movie is really great. It functions well as a movie musical because, first of all, you don't have to deal with that pesky, why are they just breaking out the song? There's a whole reason behind it. Every single one of those musical numbers is in Roxy's head at one point or another. With maybe the exception of Mr. Cellophane, which is in Amos's head, or
Yeah, actually, I was talking with Jonna earlier today, just messaging her back and forth, and she was mentioning that she preferred the movie version of Mr. Cellophane because on the stage version, it just kind of makes Amos into be kind of sad, and being able to like getting in close up into John C. Reilly, you actually kind of have a little bit more sympathy for the guy.
Yeah, and the fact that he's kind of a sad clown in the movie, which was all John C. Reilly's choice. That was something he wanted to do. I wanted to design my own clown makeup. I guess he loves clowns, so that's a thing. Mr. Cellophane is a great number. I enjoy the which is on.
Hello.
Hey.
Wow, that was weird.
Yeah. I enjoy the Joel Grey version, which is on the revival, but I like this one a lot.
Joel Grey plays Amos?
Joel Grey plays Amos.
Wow.
In the 90s revival.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, considering, Anne Reinking sounded like she, would just smoke a carton of cigarettes at a time. It's the whole movie itself has so many different things to love about it. I like that there are variations within the songs. It keeps with the jazzy nature and tone, but there's a lot of humor in a lot of the songs. Even if it devolves to humor later on, like that funny honey.
Oh yeah.
At the very beginning, Cell Block Tango. It's just the way that was choreographed, the way that they used those red handkerchiefs to kind of depict where the blood was coming from when they killed them.
Yeah.
Except for who is white. She was the only truly innocent one out of all of them, the Hungarian woman.
Oh yeah. And like you love this movie a lot. I think it's a very good movie. I don't love it as much as you do.
Okay.
And one of the issues I had with it is I don't know if I wanted to see that. I don't know if I wanted to see her get hung. I think it would have been a little bit more powerful if you heard it and you just saw Roxy's reaction to it.
Yeah.
Because, it's all about what, Roxy's area, what she's dealing with. And that's where it really becomes this isn't a show. I could die like that.
Right.
So and plus didn't like, because I really honestly, most of the characters in this are not great characters. They're not likable characters.
No,
she was very likable, and they killed her off real bad.
Yeah. Oh well, that's the thing is that justice doesn't serve somebody who can't speak English and has no money.
Yeah.
And that's kind of thing. The only two characters that are true innocents in this movie, and I'm trying to find her name now because God help me.
Hunyuk or something like that.
Yeah, Hunyuk and Amos are the only two truly innocent people in this entire thing. And people are either complicit. Mama Morton is complicit. Yeah. Sister Mary Sunshine, complicit. Every one of the women on Murderers Row, fully admits that they killed their husbands.
Yeah, and Billy Flynn is just a greedy scumbag, basically.
Yeah, and that's, I gotta say, it's been a while since I've watched this movie. I forgot how amazing Richard Gere is in this movie. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of his, but my God, was I riveted by how good he was in this.
I've seen a couple of his movies. He's fine, but no, he plays a fantastic scumbag in this one.
Oh, and he's awesome. It also kills me. He is the only main member of the cast to not get an Oscar nomination for this movie.
Yeah. One thing is about him especially is that one of my favorite songs in this one is probably Razzle Dazzle.
Yeah.
And I'd heard the song, I was like, okay, it's just a fun song. Seeing it in context and the fact that it starts right after Roxy actually has that moment of vulnerability saying, I'm scared.
Yeah.
And then, because then the whole song becomes just Billy Flynn just trying to almost reassure her and saying, don't worry, I'm not going to let you die. And that actually makes it a much more touching song than I originally thought of.
Right. I mean, when you think about it, though, the whole thing is orchestrated so he can maintain his spotless win record.
Yeah. So it's mostly that, but there is the kernel of no, he actually is trying to do something nice for her and
Right.
reassure her.
Right. He's trying to
It's mostly
reassure
for
her.
him.
Just do what I tell you to do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And the integration of the courtroom and then bringing like the circus aspects, not only kind of on that circus stage, but like inserting those into the jury with the judge, with the DA.
Yeah.
It worked really, really well. The cuts back and forth between what's that?
It worked really well in that scene for me.
It did. A lot of the cuts back and forth from real life to the musical stuff, I really, really enjoyed as well, because it kind of shows what is happening in Roxy's mind versus what is happening in real life. They both reach for the gun. Might be my favorite number in this entire movie. I don't even know if it's my favorite song in the musical. I don't think it is.
Oh, where he's doing like the ventriloquist for her.
Yes.
And then it's got the whole puppet thing going.
Brilliantly filmed.
Yeah, that one was really interesting. But where you and I disagree is that the jumping back and forth between like the actual set that they're on versus that kind of more surrealistic stage show. I didn't love it as much as you. I thought it was almost a cheap way out. I think I would have preferred to have them kind of work with the prison set and work and kind of work in that space to try and make the most of the music. And it just seemed like cutting to the stage, just like, I can't work with this one. Let's put them over there where I can work with them. I wanted to see a bit more creativity in the set that you've already got.
Right, but that would negate the fact that this is taking place in Roxy's head. Roxy is a show person, or she wants to be a show person. So everything is big and theatrical. Yeah. And for us being able to juxtapose real life with her fantasy of it, I think really works well. I mean, it's very subtle. It is very, very subtle. Yeah, but I feel like it's either you have it where it's a straight up people just breaking out in a song, or let's do that focus into her eye and have this fun number and then pull it back and then bring it back in. I think that I just think for something like this, it worked a lot better than just, okay, well, I've got a dilemma. Let me sing about it.
Like the whole Cell Block Tango, it was like jumping from like them talking in the prison to them doing all the whole dance things with the ribbons, and I thought the whole ribbons thing and all that was cool. I would have loved to have seen it done on the set that they already had, rather than building an entirely new, like, surreal theatrical stage prison set. I wanted to see a little bit more integration with reality, rather than the whole going into Roxy's head. Sure.
Right.
That's why I kind of think I'd prefer the stage show more, because it doesn't do that. It's more.
Yeah, it doesn't have the ability to do that the way that the movie could. Now, film history, this movie was in development hell forever. Yeah. And a lot of that actually came down to it. How do you conceive this for the screen? And, you know, by the turn of the century, people were kind of done with just straight up musicals.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing, is that you have to find that hook to be able to sell them, to be able to sell those tickets. Chicago itself was not going to be a guaranteed hit if you're going to sell it to the Midwest.
Right.
And that's the thing, is that you have to find that hook that will sell it. Well, you look at that. You look at Sweeney Todd. It had to have that Tim Burton spin on it. Had it been just a straight up musical, it might not have done as well.
You know what's interesting, though? We still haven't mentioned the person that we both agree kind of dominates every scene she's in.
Oh, yeah. Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yeah.
She earned that Oscar. She worked her ass off for this Oscar. And to find out that she was in the early stages of pregnancy.
I did not know that.
The filming. Yeah. She was full blown, like ready to drop pregnant come the Oscars. That's why when they performed that one number at the end credits that got nominated for Best Song, I don't even remember her performing it. I think they might have had Queen Latifah perform it.
Yeah.
But
who
she
also
is
was phenomenal in this movie.
Yeah, this movie in and of itself has got one of the cast is stellar.
Yeah.
I can't find fault in any cast member in this. I think the casting of everybody. Renee Zellweger.
I like Renee Zellweger a lot. I think she might be the weakest one in the cast, but she's still really good, I think.
And that, I think, is a fault to the character of Roxy. Roxy is usually because, and this is a thing with musicals, sometimes the lead woman tends to be one of the more, especially of this era, is usually the most weaker written of the characters. They get more songs, but that's because that's the starring role. This was the role that was written for Gwen Verdon.
Okay.
Who was married to Bob Fosse. That's how this came about. Talking musicals
all about who you know and who you bang.
Yeah, exactly. Which is funny because he was also banging Anne Reinking, who played Roxy in the revival.
Mr. Fosse, you get around a lot.
Oh, he did. He certainly did. And if you haven't watched it, Fosse Verdon, which might be on Hulu right now, is a fantastic look back at that relationship, culminating in them creating Chicago.
Oh.
With Kander and Ebb, who did the music for it. It's funny too, because I mentioned this over when we were texting back and forth about this. Like I said earlier, the movie cribs from the 90s revival heavily. So the revival, Bibby Newworth, who played Velma, won the Tony for Best Featured Actress. Anne Reinking played Roxy, went home empty-handed. Same thing happened with the Oscars with Catherine Zeta-Jones and Renee Zellweger.
Yeah,
and it's one of those weird things too. And we'll get into a little bit more of this when we start looking at who they were up against. That Renee Zellweger ended up winning the next year for supporting actress for Cold Mountain, which is a terrible movie, but it was like, here's your consolation prize. So lost last year, you're going to win it this year.
Yeah.
Now knowing too that 4 years later, she would win for Best Actress for Judy.
I don't even know
she did the Judy Garland biopic.
Oh, okay.
She was in obscurity for over a decade, and came back and made this movie. She didn't even look the same.
I could see that. I can totally see her taking on Judy Garland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's older now too. I think she was 50 when she made the movie, so she was definitely older. But I think she held her own dance-wise. I mean, it's a movie musical. You can tell when they're using doubles.
Yeah.
Anytime there's a difficult thing and you can't see their face, double. There's that whole thing in Roxy where they're doing those cartwheel spins for her. You can tell that's not her.
Yeah. That might be my least favorite song in this one.
It's not great. Again, it's a showcase for the lead actress to sing.
Yeah.
It's not great. It's the one that we kind of make fun of the most. I mean, it's one thing when you're doing all that jazz, just be like, jazz. But with Roxy, there's a lot of like, I'm going to get myself a whole lot of boys.
Yeah, it seemed like it was like half singing, half talking.
And that's what it is. It's to get inside her head now that she sees herself as this big, beautiful star.
Yeah. So
let's take a look now and see what Chicago, because this is the Oscars month, was up against. So it won 6 Oscars. So we'll start with Best Supporting. What's that?
Is it wrong that whenever I say Chicago, I want to say Chicago?
Chicago. There's nothing wrong with that. I do want to point out one other thing too before I forget. Danny Elfman actually did the incidental music for it.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
It's not a lot. It's like 4 or 5 tracks that do show up on the Chicago CD, like the original motion picture soundtrack.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So he did the incidental music. Now it's obviously tied to the Kander and Ebb music.
Yeah.
But most musicals don't have much in the way of incidental music.
No.
So he had done that.
Ah, nice.
So, all right. So we're going to start. I'm just looking at above the line stuff here. So we've got the Best Supporting Actress, which Catherine Zeta-Jones won.
Mm-hmm.
She was up against Kathy Bates for About Schmidt, Queen Latifah for Chicago. I thought she was phenomenal in this.
Yeah.
She didn't have as much to do, which is I think why she didn't stand a chance.
Quite frankly, I think Queen Latifah is phenomenal in pretty much everything she's in.
She elevates everything that she's in. Even
absolutely.
really bad movies, she elevates.
Yeah.
And she
But as you were saying, Zeta-Jones just had a lot more to do and a lot more things to chew on.
Yeah, exactly. She had a lot more dancing to do and all that. It's just funny. Because I remember when Queen Latifah got nominated for this Oscar, I'm like, what a road that woman had been on for the last 20 years. I mean, she was one of the pioneers of women in rap.
Yeah.
You know, Ladies First was her big song. And to have her come back and be, now she's an Academy Award nominated actress. No one can ever take that away from her.
Nope.
I know now I think she's doing The Equalizer on CBS, also on Paramount Plus.
And I've heard it's actually really, really good too.
Yeah, I don't know because it's on CBS and they shoot everything on the same palette. Also up for Best Supporting Actress that year, Julianne Moore for The Hours and Meryl Streep for Adaptation.
Wow. Meryl Streep, well, I can't say I'm surprised that Meryl Streep wasn't nominated because if Meryl Streep is in a movie, she's going to be nominated.
For the most part, yeah. And Adaptation's one of those movies that actually got a lot of Oscar love, which I'm going to talk about in just a second.
I don't remember it, honestly.
What's that?
I don't really remember Adaptation.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of the book that it was based on, but it's one of those Spike Jonze movies.
Okay.
Where everything is kind of surreal. Because when you look at Best Supporting Actor, nobody from Chicago was nominated in either of the male acting categories. But Chris Cooper actually won for Adaptation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a second there, I thought, didn't Chris Cooper play Fred Casely? Look, no, that was Dominic West.
That was Dominic West, yeah. It's so weird seeing him and stuff because he's a lot older than I think he is.
Yeah.
And also, I just saw him on The Crown playing Prince Charles, and it's like you couldn't even be bothered to put fake ears on him, could you? All right. So, as we mentioned, Renee Zellweger did lose Best Actress. Nicole Kidman won for The Hours.
Okay.
She played Virginia Woolf. They gave her the prosthetic nose.
Yeah.
Also nominated that year, Salma Hayek for Frida. Diane Lane for Unfaithful. And Julianne Moore for From Far From Heaven.
Wow, so Julianne Moore got both actress and supporting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So director, Rob Marshall was nominated, did not win because that was the year that they gave it to Roman Polanski for The Pianist. A move I am fairly certain they regret with every ounce of their being right now.
Yeah. As good as I'm sure Roman Polanski is as a director, I don't think he should be given anything.
No. Ever. I mean, obviously, he didn't show up to the Oscars because the cops are probably going to be there waiting for him.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sure the FBI was just waiting at the airplane. It's like, is he on this one? Oh, no.
Yeah, he's not showing up for this. And honestly, nobody expected him to win. Quite honestly, looking at the other nominees here, you got Martin Scorsese for Gangs of New York, who I legitimately thought was going to win this one.
Yeah. I can see that.
Gangs of New York went home empty-handed.
Which is surprising, given that it's got Daniel Day-Lewis in it.
Daniel Day-Lewis, and this is my argument toward. Well, first of all, it's my argument towards. Actually, it's my entire argument towards Killers of the Flower Moon. It's really good, but I feel like Lily Gladstone might have an uphill battle because she's in a Scorsese movie where she is the sure thing to win, but it's a Scorsese movie.
Yeah.
In the last 20 years, 3 of Scorsese's movies that were nominated for Best Picture have gone home completely empty-handed.
Has he won anything before?
He won in 96, 06 for The Departed.
Oh, right. Yeah. That was
Yeah.
kind of like the breaking of his curse.
Yeah.
And then
So the other nominees for Best Director that year were Stephen Daldry for The Hours and Pedro Almodovar for Talk to Her, which is an inspired. I love Pedro Almodovar's early works. Spanish director, very good. He's kind of the one who introduced Antonio Banderas to the larger world.
Oh.
And then for Best Picture, Chicago wins this. It beat out Gangs of New York. It beat out The Hours. It beat out Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Yeah.
Which nobody, without getting Peter Jackson nominated for Best Director, it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, no. Everyone knew that when Fellowship didn't win, everyone knew they were just saving it for Return of the King.
Yeah. And then The Pianist was the final nominee for Best Picture. So it wasn't, 2002 was a weird year because there wasn't much of a race.
No, it was basically just like kind of three movies that dominated everything, right? Basically. The Hours, Chicago, and Gangs of New York, really.
Well, even still, in terms of overall wins, Chicago won 6 Oscars. The Hours won 1.
For
Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
The Pianist won 2. Gangs of New York won nothing. And The Two Towers won 2.
Oh, okay.
So, and this is back when we had 5 nominees still. We weren't up to the 10. So overall, I'm not sure. I know John is watching this, so we, I'd love to hear her thoughts on this. But I enjoy this one. It did make my list of the 20 best movie musicals. It's so innovative and so cool.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really good movie. I think the performances are great. I think the songs are great. The actual film itself, it's just not quite what I was hoping for.
Gotcha. So,
which is
I think we're kind of, what's that?
Which is sad because I really like Rob Marshall. I think of the stuff I've seen him do, I really enjoyed it. So I really wanted to like this one more than I actually did.
Yeah,
I still enjoyed it.
Yeah. I feel like Rob Marshall's kind of had a slide lately, though. He did Into the Woods, which isn't great. He did one of the Pirates movies.
Yeah, he actually did the one Pirates that the one that I'm not crazy about.
Yeah, the one nobody likes.
Yeah, the one with Penelope Cruz, right?
Yeah.
He did do Mary Poppins Returns, and I really enjoyed Mary Poppins Returns.
I forgot he'd done that one. I forgot who directed that one.
And he just did the live action Little Mermaid.
That's right. He did do that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's kind of found his safety in the Disney wheelhouse now. Yeah. I'm doing remakes.
But so Kim applaud them for that.
Yeah. So we want to know now, what are your thoughts on the movie Chicago? Did you think it deserved to win Best Picture in 2002 or for 2002? What are your thoughts on the musical formatting? You can leave a polite comment below. Also, don't forget, because we are here every week, just give this video a big thumbs up. It helps us in the algorithm. Hit the subscribe button because you get this every week. And we are going to be continuing with Best Picture that looks back at some Best Picture winners through the decades all month long. I think we've decided, though, we're going to jump around a little bit. We're not going to go consecutively down from here. Last year, we started in the 30s.
Yeah.
And moved up and
40s,
up and
50s,
up and up.
60s.
Yeah, we're not going to actually do the 90s next week.
No, we have something special planned for the 90s. So.
Right. We might actually not do anything from the 80s, because looking at that, 80s were a rough year for Best Picture winners. I'm just going to put that right out on there. A lot of great movies got nominated for Best Picture. Not many of them won Best Picture.
Yeah. But
So
we are going to do the 70s next week.
Yeah. So if you look back at what we've already talked about for the 70s, scratch your chin and go, which one could it possibly be?
It's a movie I've never seen. He's seen. I've heard really good things about it, so I wanted to watch it. And I said, hey, can we watch this one? And he's like, absolutely.
What a perfect excuse to watch it. Yeah, so you'll have to check it out next week when we announce it. But you can also check that out by getting that early preview of our announcement for it by following us on Twitter at Geek Salad Radio. We're also Geek Salad Radio on Blue Sky and on Threads and on Geek Salad Podcast on Facebook. You can also check out our podcast, Geek Salad, wherever you get your podcast. You can also get that feed right here on YouTube just by subscribing. We are going to be recording a new episode next week. The show is almost over. I have one more weekend of Something Rotten. So it's kind of fitting that we talked about a musical today. Because tomorrow I start my closing weekend of Something Rotten. It's been absolute joy.
And that would also tie into what we're going to be doing not next week, but the week after.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So you just have to keep guessing on that. So anyway, until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
Go forth, be nerdful, and watch out for that bathtub gin.